Welcome everybody to the session today about the SAP Edge Integration Cell powered by SAP Solutions. My name is Kevin Klinger. I'm an SAP Solutions Architect working in the SAP offices in the Waldorf area, working very closely together with SAP around all topics like Kubernetes and containers at SAP.
And hi everyone. So I'm Diego Akechi. I'm the Senior Director working at SUSE for our SAP Solutions department. So this is the department dedicated for product engineering, co-innovation with SAP. I know some of you probably came to hear from SAP directly today, from Udo Paitza, but unfortunately he had a last minute issue and he couldn't come. So I'm covering for him. But I promise you, if there's something that we cannot cover or know about the topic, more than happy to take the question and bring directly to our SAP colleagues. So Udo is the VP product manager responsible for the SAP BTP Cloud Integration Suite. SAP really like long names, right? And responsible for all the product strategy and about this new feature that we are talking today. Okay? So going forward.
So the agenda for today was to start with the SAP Edge Integration Cell to give you like a little bit of an overview. What is it? What problem does it solve? And then we're gonna cover how SUSE solutions can help you to build up the infrastructure for your SAP Edge Integration Cell.
So let's talk a little bit more about SAP Edge Integration Cell. But before we go there, I assume if you came to that session, you probably is using PI and PO or have customers using that, right? So who is familiar with SAP Process Integration, Process Orchestration software? Okay, good. And I assume you are also familiar that this is going out of maintenance in 2 years, right? Or 3 in 2027, and then you need to look for what is the alternative, right? So PI and PO was the process integration, process automation, orchestration solution on premises. And now, the option, the natural evolution of it is the SAP BTP Cloud Integration Suite. But this is a cloud offering, right? So meaning it runs as part of SAP BTP, and everything needs to run on the cloud. That said, what is there is what PI and PO could cover, but obviously there are new things, right? So, for example, what they call SAP Business Accelerator Hub, where you have, infinite amounts of pre-built integrations, templates, and business events, APIs. So you get a lot of SAP intelligence out of the box as part of the catalog. And one of the things when you go to the BTP integration platform is that you have even more than what you had previously on-premise. You get naturally a lot of SAP natural application integration, so the entire SAP portfolio, right? So Ariba, customer experience, success factors, and many others. You have native connectors for all of them. API management, so you can much easily version it, integrate, create APIs from existing services. You have advanced event mesh, so not sure when going to the cloud, usually there are some, naturally customers tend to embrace more real-time architectures and then go to event-driven architecture and things like that, and SAP BTP Integration Suite now helps you with that. Open connectors. So in a nutshell, everything similarly to PI and PO, but everything to connect non-SAP applications, so your entire landscape from other parts of your IT landscape with partner connections, third apps with your SAP infrastructure, right? So in a nutshell, that's the mission of an integration platform, and that's what SAP BTP Cloud Suite offers. Plus, if you are a PI and PO user, there are toolings to migrate your existing workflows and convert them to be integrated on the cloud. And this is our area that I am not a specialist, so I know based on a lot of discussions with SAP, that those tooling can migrate around 80%, 90%, but not necessarily everything that you have for PI and PO will be automatically converted, but a lot of the work is automatically done, and you can migrate your existing workflows to the cloud platform. But that said, right? What if my data cannot go to the cloud, right? For many reasons. Why there are data protection situations, there are specific local regulations, there are technical limitations, right? So, for example, if you have such demanding environment where the latency plays a big role, and depending on the region that we are, or depending on the SLAs that you need to fulfill, not necessarily everything or the running through the cloud will be able to fulfill that. There are situations where the reality is hybrid, right? So that's exactly what Edge Integration Cell, as a new offering from SAP, as a new feature as part of the BTP integration suite, is addressing, right? So it's the ability to make you compliant in terms of regulations or needs or technical needs, to control what goes or not go or doesn't go to the cloud, right? In a nutshell, it's a runtime extension, meaning you configure, it's still connected to BTP, right? So you cannot just deploy these on premises and live with that. So it's basically really a runtime. So you go to your cloud interface, your cloud integration suite deployment, you configure your workflows, you host all there, and this will be your main, as a user, your main entry point. But when deploying, you go to approve and say, okay, this is the runtime that I want to use. So instead of running completely on the cloud, I can run on, I don't know, on my factory, or on my own data center, or in specific locations. So you can have multiple edge integration cells, so you can have basically many physical boxes deployed on strategically on any place that your infrastructure needs it. Okay. Let's see if I covered everything. It's coming, right? So I know it's on the roadmap. The idea of the business continuity. One of the main use cases, like for example, what happens, I don't know, in my factory or my retail shop or whatever, if BTP goes down, or there's some event on the cloud, and then in the roadmap, for example, this kind of deployment, Edge Integration Cell, will allow you to have business continuity. So it will be able to disconnect or run disconnected from BTP for around 4 hours. I think this is one of the points that are under discussion and so on. But the idea is that you don't stop your operation because there are some glitches eventually on the cloud. You basically have a local deployment. But again, this is not a purely on-premise deployment, right? So meaning you will need to have connectivity to the BTP cloud, so every 4 hours there's a heartbeat to go there to get updates and things like that. Another benefit is that as an extension from the cloud and being connected, you will also receive updates regularly. Similarly, in a cloud managed service providers, you receive the updates, and it's usually managed by SAP. Here is a hybrid deployment, but we will have the chance from the SAP integration suite to command updates to your cells or to your local deployment. So it will help to have faster rollouts and be more in sync with the latest versions. And then with that, naturally, it will cover in a smaller setup, or tailored for what needs and can be run on premises, API based. So basically, similarly, almost all the capabilities that you have, you can deploy and run locally. So API based and event driven integrations, it's fulfilling security and governance and operations. And then currently, it can run on AKS or Amazon EKS, SUSE Rancher, and we'll cover a little bit more about that, and Google Platform. And it comes with two external dependencies, that's Postgres, SQL, and Redis. But basically, we will cover Kevin will cover how we are helping to simplify and make sure that we have a solidify and an easier stack to go to those deployments and make sure that it aligns with your natural modernization of the IT landscape. Next slide. Yeah, in a nutshell, very simplified diagram, that's how it looks like, right? So you have your SAP integration suite on the cloud, and this is running as part of the SAP BTP. And then you have a deployment, let's call traditional deployment, but it's one of the first applications that SAP delivers in a container native mode. So it's a microservice-oriented distributed, so it's on top. It's based on containers and Kubernetes. So to run that, you need to have a Kubernetes platform on premises to be able to deploy. And I know for SAP traditional customers, people use it to the traditional SAP stack, NetWeaver, S4HANA, databases or HANA database. It's a little bit out of our comfort zone, right? But there's also a lot of advantages on adopting some of those new technologies and new architecture. The main goal that SUSE brings, the main value that we're putting in here is like using our expertise, using our more than 20 years of SAP partnership to make sure that the burden that is to adopt a new technology and the learning curve around doing that, in the same way that we did with HANA when it came out, with Linux there in the beginning when everyone was just using Linux, using Windows. We are doing it again with Kubernetes, so that's the value that we bring, and Kevin will explain a little bit more what we have to offer and how we have been collaborating to enable and bring this solution to the market together with SAP.
Okay, thank you very much, Diego. One thing I'd like to add to this slide is, as you can see, there's this dotted line here, and I noticed a lot of customers and partners are quite confused when it comes to terminology of Edge, because for SAP, Edge means everything that is outside of BTP. So it can be Azure, AWS, all the hyperscalers, which you normally wouldn't say those are Edge devices. Yeah. All right. So the question is now, why would you pick SUSE solutions to build up your Edge integration cell? And let's start with the middle part here, which tells you which of the Kubernetes distros are currently validated by SAP. As of today, and I checked it just a couple of hours ago, there is Microsoft AKS, EKS, and then we have Rancher. So if you want to go for on-premise deployments, having it in your data center, well, not that much of a choice, sorry. But as a SUSE employee, I'm very glad I see nothing red up here.
You only need one, right?
Yeah. Okay, but let's just say there was competition. The reason why you should choose SUSE is SUSE is partnering up with SAP very well here. We are delivering development and testing landscapes to SAP together with our hardware partners, Fujitsu, HPE, and Lenovo. They handed over some hardware, and SUSE was deploying the software stack on top of that, and I will show you in a minute what I mean with that. Furthermore, we as SUSE do support the SAP development teams with our expertise in the container native world. And if you want to set up Edge Integration Cell, this is typically what you need. You need your machines with an operating system, of course. Then you put your Kubernetes stack on top. You will need some more components for storage, the database we're talking about, and networking components. And if you got all that, you can start with the Edge Integration Cell on top. And I would like to go through those things, starting with the operating system where we recommend SLE Micro. To talk a little bit about SLE Micro, why would you choose that one? So first off, it's very small, yeah, but still enterprise graded, yeah. So you may have other Linux distros out there that are small, but none with that enterprise grade in the background. It's built on immutable design. We have transactional updates there, which helps you first off with security, and second part, if you're facing any issues during updates, upgrades, or so on, it's very easy for you to roll back. And therefore, it's very low maintenance for the administrators, so quite easy to handle for the infrastructure part. And last but not least, it's perfect for containers and Kubernetes workloads. In the end, it was tailored with that for that purposes. And to dig a little bit more into that means we also check to isolate the container workloads from the actual system, which means making it more secure in the end. And as well, we got something in. If you're looking for SE Linux, so the security enhanced Linux, it's quite easy to add rules in SLE Micro to achieve more security. All right, so then you got...
Before we go there, I want to share something about SLE Micro, because I noticed it's not common knowledge for a lot of customers and partners, but the way that we build our Linux distro at SUSE is like we have a common core from where all the Linux are derived. So it means, if you're using SLES for SAP or you trust and you're familiar with that, SLE Micro comes from the same foundation. So the same, solidity, reliability, everything that you get today for your SAP offering is also present there. Obviously, with different features on top, they have different purposes. While SLES for SAP is a more traditional, laser-focused platform to run SAP, Micro will be low touch. Smaller attack surface and so on, but on its core, meaning kernel, core library, secured patches, and things like that, they share the same, literally the same core. So you can really rely on this for this platform, but from any other purpose that you have, because it's as reliable as SLES for SAP is for your operations. And I always say that because a lot of people don't really realize this, but that's how we do Linux.
Okay, so and if we got the Linux space, we now start with the Kubernetes layer. Some of you might know that SUSE got an offering there as well, which is called RKE2, which is the Rancher Kubernetes engine. And before we dig into that, I want to start with Rancher, so first part of RKE. Just for my knowledge, who of you knows what Rancher is or already used it? Okay, that's great.
Quite a lot.
That's a lot. More than I expected, to be honest. So I can cover this quite quickly. Why would you choose Rancher over something else like a plain AKS or EKS environment? So first off, handling multiple clusters can be challenging. Starting with Kubernetes with 1 or 2 clusters is quite easy to administrate, to operate. It's all in one place. Nice. But if you scale, if you use Kubernetes not just for a single workload, but for other projects, and you get multiple clusters setting up for your dev teams, for QA and so on, it can get quite tricky. And with Rancher, you can manage all of your clusters. As well, I got it here with treat all Kubernetes distros as first-class citizens, mean we're not sticking to RKE only, or K3S for smaller environments. We also support with Rancher AKS or EKS. You can deploy those clusters from Rancher. You can upgrade those. You can check and monitor everything from in there. So the big value of Rancher is to give you or to reduce the footprint or the real deep knowledge you need to operate Kubernetes clusters and make it just simpler. And of course, it's open source. So you can check it out. I would like to go to the next slide with why Rancher, because again, open source, it got over 100 million downloads already, 35,000 active downloads per month, which we're tracking, get over 20,000 GitHub stars, and is one of the lead contributors to CNCF projects. And as well trusted by over 15,000 organizations worldwide already. Going back to the part where we're talking about open source, sometimes I get to hear what's the Rancher itself. And if we're talking about Rancher, we need to be a little bit careful because there's the open source version Rancher, which you can install and try it out. But if you're running enterprise-grade workloads and you want to have our support, that's like you would have it with the SLE subscriptions for your SLES for SAP, you would need to get that covered with Rancher Prime, as it's called, and get a lot of benefits. I won't go through all of them here. I just wanted to highlight there's a minor difference. Rancher, the open source version, just try it out. Yeah, quite okay. But if you're running enterprise-grade software as SAP applications and you really rely on that and you need support by SUSE, check the Rancher Prime. All right, then talking about the RKE itself now. So RKE again is the Rancher Kubernetes Engine 2. It's the version 2, which is a fully CNCF certified Kubernetes distro. It's completely open source under Apache 2.0 license, and RKE is optimized for security workloads, to be honest. So it's running for, or was tailored for government agencies. Yeah, so very strong focus on that. It is FIPS 114.2 enabled. So everything in there is tailored for a very secure Kubernetes engine. All right, now we got the operating system. We got our Kubernetes cluster, and as said, you will need some stuff above, which is a requirement of SAP. And to be more precise here, you would need a storage solution. We as SUSE recommend Longhorn. We'll talk about that in a minute. Furthermore, you will need so-called Metal LB in your on-premise solutions because you need to expose somehow your Edge Integration Cell to the outside so it's reachable. Therefore, there's the option of Metal LB. And furthermore, SAP relies on the databases of Redis and Postgres. Just to mention here, if you want to set it up, SUSE does deliver package support for Redis and Postgres, meaning if there are bugs and critical bugs or security risks from that software, that is covered by SUSE. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead with the package, start development, and try to fix it. But if it comes to application support, so if your data actually is corrupted, SUSE won't take the support for that. There is a third-party support needed. We clarified that with SAP. That's the way to go. All right, so I was talking about the storage solution. We recommend Longhorn here. Why? So Longhorn is the SUSE or Rancher Kubernetes storage solution. It was really tailored just for Kubernetes workloads. Yeah, I got a quite complex picture over here. Won't go that through, but just to give you some idea of it, it's really Longhorn comes into play, and if the application like the SAP Edge Integration Cell says, I need some storage, the Longhorn will take care of providing that storage to the Kubernetes application, and make sure it got enough of replicas to make it more secure. So let's say one of your machines are going down, that you're not failing as the storage is not available any longer. Yeah, and in the end, it's high available by that. And yeah, I mean, it's a Kubernetes first design asset, so it was really tailored for Kubernetes workloads. Okay, so when we have that, we're all set and we can start deploying the SAP Edge Integration Cell. And to get back to the picture that Diego was showing us earlier on, that would mean we now have this node here, our Edge node, as SAP calls it, running on SLE Micro, having our RKE on top, those 4 components we need for storage, for network, for the databases. And then we're good to go with our Edge application called SAP Edge Integration Cell. So that was everything from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. You have a question right there?
Yeah.
I would kindly ask to. Yeah.
Yes. My name is Michael Schuler from Fujitsu, and I have a question. How do you connect from the edge to the cloud? Because I've not seen. You just use a simple HTTPS connection, or how does this work?
It depends. Yes, you can use HTTPS, especially the integration suite will use that. For the rollout, you will hand over a so-called kubeconfig to the integration suite. So the integration suite can, from BTP, reach all the time using in the end TCP connections to your Kubernetes cluster.
Okay, so there's no Istio involved or something like
There
that?
is Istio, but that's just for internal purposes, especially for MTLS encryption through the components in Edge Integration Cell.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Could you maybe just... Yeah, but it's for the recording.
It's for recording, so for posterity.
Got it. Simple question. Is that live?
Yeah, it is live.
SAP Edge Integration Cell is available.
Yeah, it is available.
It is available. It's a very brand new offering, so you will have difficulties to find, more curated instructions, documentation. This is exactly what we are working with SAP. We might publish something soon. But if you want to buy, there are customers even in production with that. But they don't expect, the same level of quality in documentation, guidance, and so on, like we have for, SLAS for SAP and Linux. That's what we are constructing with SAP together.
The machines, can it also run on KVM?
Yeah, theoretically.
Theoretically.
It does. So in the end, as said, the Edge device from an SAP perspective doesn't matter as long as it runs Kubernetes. From our perspective, everything that is capable of running Kubernetes, which are KVM machines, you can run it.
We are working on reference architectures, right? So everything, tradition in the same way that SAP does everything for the traditional stack, Edge Integration Cell will also to fulfill some guidelines and validations. Right, so to deploy that, we will need to follow the validated guidelines. Now, maybe we need to follow up on this and understand what exactly, because this is tailored to run in specific dedicated infrastructure from SAP, or from SAP, sorry, on premises. But then we can discuss what is the use case, because there will be gray zones where we need to validate with SAP as well. We are working right now into kind of I defer to call appliances, but the idea is to have simplified, certified stack documented, and from there more use cases will come for sure.
The same with enterprise storage.
Yeah, the same. Technically, there's no limitation, right? So if you have a certain, Rancher, for example, can run on KVM, can run on VMware, can run on other virtualizations as a platform. And this is like certified by SUSE for sure. But when we have a stack on top, like an application on top, then we need to bring this to SAP and say, we certify, we SUSE support this. Is there any limitation from your side? That's what validation or certification with SAP means. But technically, yes, it can be used. Doesn't mean that everything that's technically possible is supported by SAP, right?
I wanted just to support your answer. There are already available notes and help on how to install and follow the things, and it's very clear and easy to use.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Yep.
So I come from the cloud background, and a lot of my customers are already in cloud running SLAS for SAP and the whole SAP environments. Plus, they are having managed, for example, if I talk about Microsoft, so they are having managed AKS platform. So does this have support on the managed AKS?
Yes, it's one of the certified platforms currently. And then for that you need to refer. Microsoft also has best practices and some initial guidelines on that. And again, what's supported, what's not, you need to check. It's a very traditional SAP thing, line by line, what can be done, what cannot be done. But Amazon, Google, and Microsoft managed Kubernetes are supported, and Rancher for on-premise deployments.
And another question, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
you showed a lot of SUSE components as well in terms of storage and having the database as well and other stuff. Are there possibilities to use like past storages, like for example, NFS in Azure or Azure Storage Account or S3 bucket in Amazon as a storage?
Yeah, I think falls into a similar question. Technically, probably yes, right? So technically everything is possible, and then we will need to. The work is really important that you guys bring those requirements and refinements, because the way that it works is like we work with SAP, and then we build the first reference architectures and the first guidance, and more use cases appears, and then we're naturally expanding this and refining. So as much as we collect this, and I even invite you guys to give your contact, and then we collect this. We use this to discuss with SAP, and our reference guides, our architectures will evolve from that, right? Because currently it will support this stack, and that will be the first. This is the first validated, right? It's not different from what we did with HANA, right? So the first HANA was very strict in this, and then TDI came, and other opportunities came, and then things on the cloud. It's very similar. Now, we are in a very early stage on this offering, and it will come with the first guidance. But as much use case appears and as much feedback we can collect, we can use this to influence and work with SAP to prioritize some of them, to extend our certification scope and things like that. Okay?
Thank you.
More
Further questions? No?
No.
Good. I hope it was useful. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yep.
Feel free to reach out, on the corridors. Kevin and other colleagues are on the demo showcase. And as I said, unfortunately, the SAP colleague couldn't come, but we can collect all those requirements to connect with them. Okay. Is a real question or okay?
No, I'm here from the SAP team, so I'm here. So I'm happy to try to route it through me as well, and also through Diego. So.
Yeah. No, I mean because originally the session was supposed to have Udo Paulsa from SAP, the PM,
the SAP,
and unfortunately he didn't come. So, but we are happy to bridge those things internally at SAP as well. Okay? Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.